Good morning again, family. Thanks for rolling with us all morning long. It's Fuller Jr. You know him from his book, The Code, and tomorrow's his birthday, so I'm just asking folks, celebrate Neely Fuller's birthday with us. Just pick up a copy of his book. He'll give you all the information about the book, how you can get it before he leaves. But before we left for the traffic and weather update, John in Long Beach, California, had a question for you, Mr. Fuller. He wanted to know, is your thesis based on humanity, racism or white supremacy? Is it based on humanity?
Well, I don't understand the question.
I think he's implying, and maybe correct me, Johnny, if I'm wrong, that the features that you say that racism is white supremacy isn't based. It's basically on race, not just solely on race, but human beings. It's looking at humans in totality.
Well, people. If we're talking about people have choices, and they ask questions and get answers, and then they act on the answers they get to the questions. So people are called, in the world that I'm in, human beings. That's an error, according to evidence. That's a huge error. Because the people on this planet have proven that they are not humane. Now, what is humane? Jumping from one word to another, from human to humane. It means you help people. You don't do anything to harm people. You don't do anything to harm nature in its productive state. You improve everything that you touch. You make it closer to the way it ought to be, because everything is out of order in the world that we're in when it comes to the actions of people. People are out of order, and we have a tendency to throw everything else out of order. So what is order? Order is, for one thing, guaranteeing, if you're talking about humanity, guaranteeing that no person is ever, under any circumstance, mistreated. That's logical. People are here not to be mistreated, if you want to come to a constructive conclusion of what people should be about. First of all, see to it that no one is mistreated. And number two, guarantee that the person that needs help the most in every circumstance gets the most constructive help. Now, these are the two things that everybody on the planet should be doing 24 hours a day, non-stop. Number one, guarantee, if there's just 10 people on the planet, guarantee that not one of those persons is mistreated. Now, this is what I call codified logic about correcting things. First thing you got to do is guarantee that not one person, under any circumstance, is mistreated after you ascertain what mistreatment is, after you make a judgment about what mistreatment is and what it isn't. And then number two, guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Example, a person will say, well, I need a fix. I need some more drugs. Well, wait a minute. That's what you say you need, sir. But the question is this the most constructive help that you can get? More of what poisoned you in the first place. And don't move away from the answer to that question. All questions must be answered. You never move to the second question without answering the first one based on truth and evidence. Has the evidence shown that more cocaine is better than less? The evidence has shown, well, no. So why get more of what you had that's going to harm you more than it did? That's not logical. So that's not constructive help. See, that word constructive is always supposed to be present in everything that every creature does. Nothing non-constructive, not for 2 seconds, ever. That's the kind of world that we should be trying to produce, because it's not that way. So, the system of white supremacy is very constructive when it comes to handling things as a form of government. It's proven that everybody's rushing around trying to get the things that the system of white supremacy has produced. But when it comes to relations between people, it's about as terrible as it can be. The white supremacists, more than anybody, are deadly at that. They're excellent when it comes to handling things, producing things. I think it wasn't Geronimo, it was one of the other Indians who said, the white man knows how to make everything, but he does not know how to distribute it. Now, I thought about that statement, and I came to the conclusion, but this is just me. The first statement is true. The second statement, he doesn't know how to distribute it, I think needs modification. He knows how, but he doesn't choose to. When you say white man, you're talking about the white supremacists. Not talking about all white people. At least logic says that that's true. Always go with the truth if you want to solve any problem, even when it hurts. And all kinds of things that hurt because of truth should hurt. The truth should hurt because that's a fire alarm going off saying something needs to be corrected. So don't be afraid of the truth. I said on this program this morning, Neely Fuller, you don't let Neely Fuller say something that's not true, that you know is not true, and say, oh, well, I got to respect that old man. No, you're not respecting me when you give me anything that ain't true. And if you hear me say something that's not true, say, Mr. Fuller, if you want to use an old cliche, out of all due respect, you got that one wrong. Everybody's loaded with mistakes. We are mistake-prone creatures, big time. Everybody on the planet. So nobody should ever be embarrassed about making a mistake. Be embarrassed about not correcting mistakes when they are made. That's what you're going to be embarrassed at. You can go straight to embarrassment when you start talking about embarrassment. Never be embarrassed about correcting a mistake. Embrace corrections to mistakes. I'm talking about being a fanatic about it. If I make any kind of mistake, I'm not here to make mistakes under any circumstance. Well, don't tell that old man he's making a mistake because it might hurt his feelings. Hurt my feelings rather than tell me a lie. No. Say, hey, well, you got this all wrong. And that's one of the first things I want to hear. Based on what? Emotion? No, based on logic. Correcting mistakes is what we're here for. Everybody's mistakes. And everybody's made them. And in the process of making them. According to what? Evidence. Not how somebody feels. Feelings change every 5 minutes. They're unreliable. They serve a purpose, But you can't rely on feelings unless they are attached to what? Logic. Logic means cause and effect. Fire will burn. Water is wet. Fire is not the same as water, even though they are related some kind of way, because everything is related some kind of way. Otherwise, water wouldn't put out fire. So water has a connection with fire.
All right.
That's
30
all.
minutes after the top there, Mr. Fuller. And Dante's on hold. And Dante wants to talk about Willie Lynch letter. He's from Baltimore. Dante, Willie Lynch letter was a fake. I know you're a new listener, but those folks who have been here for quite a while, listeners for years, when we even had the guy who wrote the Willie Lynch letter, and they said it was a fake. So I'm going to give you time to rephrase your question, because you can't ask him something it's not true. So anyway, Dante, just hang on and rephrase your question for Neely Fuller Jr., because the Willie Lynch letter was a fake. And keep listening to us, brother. And for those new listeners in Baltimore, we talked about this years ago. In fact, we had a guy on who wrote the letter, and we had Manu Ampin who discovered that it was a fake. So while you do that, Dante, we're going to put you back on hold and rephrase your question for Neely Fuller Jr. Got to get you up to speed. But Tony Browder just sent me a note for you, Mr. Fuller. He says he can't call in today, but he said, please tell Mr. Fuller that I am thankful for the knowledge, wisdom, and insights he has provided us over the decades. He's certainly fulfilling his cosmic assignment. And also, Johnny, the last question, said he wants to thank you as well. So, folks, you got to keep listening to this program. You want to get caught up on, the Willie Lynch letter. I don't want to even go there because it was a fake. We had the guy down in North Carolina who was on and admitted that he wrote it's a fake. So you just got to pay attention. You got to stay in class. But Mr. Fuller, I want to go. We're coming up on a break, but I want to ask you too if you can explain. Why one time you said that we should avoid talking to each other. We say we talk too much. We just waste time just having conversations. It's away from the top of the hour with our guest, Neely Fuller Jr. is in our classroom right now. You got a question for Neely? Reach out to us. 800-450-7876. Don't you want to remind you, tomorrow's Friday. We give you a chance to free your mind, think for yourself, and reach out to us. Our open phone Friday program begins at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, right here in Baltimore on 1010 WOLB. Also in the DMV on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL. All right, Mr. Fuller, before you answer my question, let's go to Dante. He's holding for us on line 2. Dante's in Baltimore. Good morning, Dante. You're on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Is Dante there on line 2?
You hear me?
You can't listen. Yeah, don't listen on the radio, Dante, because we're on a delay system. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm not on it. Can you hear me now?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Hello, and happy birthday, Mr. Fuller. Well, what I just wanted to say was just like that misinformation, that the education of our people is kind of questioned by the intelligence of the white supremacists and misleading us and using misinformation. And that was kind of what I was kind of segueing into with the Willie Lynch. I know that's fake and false. However, that form of disinformation of, disliking this person and don't like people with money, we've really fallen into that circle. So I just wanted to ask him, what does he think that could kind of break it? Even though, like I said, it's a fake Willie Lynch and so on and so forth, but a lot of that stuff that is in there has fallen into place with us. Light-skinned guys, it's like a dark-skinned guy. It's weird and sounds stupid, but it's true. And unfortunately, it just causes us to be divided with money, financial gains, and stuff like that. Like, if you have money, Mr. Carl, some people may not like you, like, oh, he has money, so he thinks he's better than us. No, he just has money, so it's a nicer car. So I just wanted to say, like, what does he think that the financial effect and the way that they've strategized, weaponized, I'll say, misinformation for us, and how can we probably break that system, if any, if there's even a possible to break it? Okay.
Thanks, Dante.
Thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful
day. All right. I hear too, Dante. Mr. Fuller?
You replace any type of misinformation with information. And how do you get information? Questions and answers. You ask questions, just like the question being asked now. If somebody's telling you something and you don't know if it's true, then the question is, can I find out the truth? That, I asked the person a question and the person says, this is the answer to your question. And now, if it comes to my mind, is that answer that I got to my question, was it the truth? So that's the question. So I got to find that out first. And how do I do that? I keep asking questions. Was that the truth? Until I find somebody who knows whether it was the truth or not. Because I'm asking the question, which means I don't know. So the first thing I have to do is just find out the answer to somebody who what? Does know. And that's the codified procedure. That's the logical procedure. That's the universal procedure, which is what everything in problem solving is supposed to be about. Finding out what to do answers the questions. That's the only way you find out what to do about anything. Ask the question and getting answers to each question that you ask, and seeing if that answer is the answer that is true, not false. And it's just that simple.
Hold that thought right there. And some more people want to talk to you. They always wait till the last minute to call in. 17 away from the top of the hour. Bob is in Columbus. He's on line 3. Bobby, your question for Neely Fuller Jr.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Fuller, I've heard you speak many times about having a code. What do you mean that we must have a code? Thank you.
A code is nothing but questions and answers. Having the correct answer to every question that a person has that will produce the most constructive result. That's what every move that a person makes in a day or a moment. Problem solving, if you want to put it under a heading. People are designed based on logic to either make problems or solve problems. But we have the capacity, and there's been evidence of that. People are put here to solve problems. Why? That's the question. Why are people put here to solve problems? Because we got problems to solve. That's the answer. If we weren't put here to solve problems, we wouldn't have any problems to solve. So at some point, people say, even, why did the chicken cross the road? That's a question. Well, the chicken is hungry. Well, why is the chicken hungry? Because it's something in the chicken's body that says you have to have food. Well, why does the chicken have food? So that the chicken can solve problems. Now, what is the problem that the chicken has? Getting across the road. Well, why would the chicken try to cross the road? Because that's where the food is. All that corn that dumped off of a truck is lying over there in the grass on the other side of the road. So why did the chicken cross the road? To solve the problem of getting to the corn, because that's where the corn is. In everything in existence, you get signs of what problems that need to be solved. We're born into the world, and the baby wants to be fed. The baby was fed for 9 months. The baby wants to keep being fed. So the baby does what? Cries out. You got a problem over here. Pay attention to me. Well, you were making a problem, baby. Yeah, but somebody's supposed to solve my problem. I had food before. Now I want food to keep coming until I can handle my own way of getting food. Duh. That's what the baby is saying when it's crying in the back room back there. It keeps annoying you. It's feeding time. I'm a baby. It's always feeding time and it's always sleeping time until I get big enough and learn enough where I can feed myself without calling you all the time. I'm acting out of necessity. What are you doing? That's what the baby's saying when it's crying. Pure logic, baby logic. And baby logic is universal. We can't get too far away from it. Cause and effect.
Mr. Fuller, my question earlier was the fact that you say we waste too much time having conversations with each other. Can you explain that? You said we shouldn't be talking to each other. Can you explain that for our audience, please?
Because we do. We call it, kind of laughingly. We say talking random. Random talk. Well, what does that mean? That's a question. Questions and answers again. What does random talk mean? Oh, this breaking the silence. Somebody say something. Well, the code says never just say something unless you are saying something. Now, what does that mean? That's another question. It means whatever you say, make it have a constructive effect, or don't say it at all. If you write a song, that's the difference between, as the code says, I have it in my code book, I came to that conclusion, the difference between music and noise. What is music? It's a sound. There's two types of sound in the universe, just two. Music and noise. So what is music and what is noise? That's another question. Music is a sound that you hear, that when you hear it, you think about doing something constructive. Something that's going to produce a constructive result. That's what you think about when you hear music. Sound is just the opposite. I mean, not sound. Noise is just the opposite of the two types of sound. Noise, music, you got music, making you think about something, doing something constructive, because that's what I say is logical. And if it's not, somebody can correct me. And you got noise. Noise is when you hear it, you think about doing something non-constructive. Like putting a gun in your belt and going out and just shooting somebody just to see them fall down and think that's funny, which is what we do. Now, if what you were listening to in the form of what you might regard it as music, it turned out to be, if you go and do it, that wasn't music, that was noise. You just shoot somebody for fun because you listen to something. I don't care what kind of label you put on it, that was noise. Because you did something as a result of listening to it that was non-constructive. So the only difference between music and noise as two types of sounds is what do you think about doing when you hear it. I think that's constructive and the correct way of looking at music and noise. Nothing in between. It's either one or the other. What do you think about doing when you hear it?
Right. Mr. Fuller, we got about 60 seconds left. Can you tell folks how they can get a copy of your book? And I'm imploring our listeners to, because it's your birthday tomorrow, pick up a copy of the book. First, you need the title. Now, can we get a copy of the book?
Well, I just call it, it's a long title. In fact, I got titles all over the title of the book. But it's called the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. And then there's a word guide that's just an extension of the basic book. You can get it by going to producejustice.com. I'll say it again. ProduceJustice.com. Because that's what we're supposed to be doing. Why? Because non-justice dominates the entire planet in the form of a system called white supremacy. And it's a non-just system. It's not designed to treat people correctly. It's deliberately designed to mistreat people. And it's got to be replaced with something. But the law of the universe is you don't replace something with something else unless it needs replacing. And since the system of white supremacy is a non-just governmental system that dominates the entire world, you want to replace it with something what? Better. And something better would be justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And the textbook for victims of white supremacy should help the individual person. It's addressed to the individual person about ways and means of going about doing that, which was what we have discussed this morning. First of all, look for the truth and do that by asking questions, not about some things, about everything that you see people doing and everything that you hear people saying ought to be done. And then keep asking questions and keep getting answers. And
thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
That you never move to the second question without the first being answered.
All right. Thank you for sharing the information with us over all these years. Enjoy your birthday. And folks, pick up the book. And if you can't remember, just ask for the code by Neely Fuller. All these bookstores will know how to get it. Or if not, look it up online and you'll be able to get a copy of the book. But we're late, so we got to get out of here. ProduceJustice.com. That's where you can get a copy of the book, the code. ProduceJustice.com. Folks, we're out of here. Stay strong, stay positive. Please stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, right here in Baltimore on 1010 WOLB. Also in the DMV, we're on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.